I'm going to declare a quorum and call the City of Groton Committee of the Whole meeting for Monday, April 23rd, 2018 to order. Clerk Patrick, will you please call the roll?
Present are Mayor Keith Hedrick, Deputy Mayor Lawrence Garish, Councilors Jill Rust, Jamal Beckford, Stephen Sheffield, Assad Carter, Finance Director Ron Newhouse, Clerk Deborah Patrick, excused as Councilor Guinevere Depot.
Thank you. We will start with line item 690, which is the city budget presentations. We have our last two for the night. The first one is building and zoning. Building Inspector Smith. It starts on page 37.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I am understanding you're looking at the narrative right now on page 37. And the budget starts on page 39, which that first page shows that it's up 6.28%. 3.28% of it, or right around that number, is the general increase that we all absorbed as departments for insurance and workman's comp, et cetera, on there. The largest items that I've changed in my budget for the actual increase here is that I'm now asking for into CIP $8,000 towards a new. Last year I asked for $8,000 to be put in for the next 4 years into the CIP for assistant building officials car change on there, and now I'm starting for the building officials car to be changed in 4 years on there. So we're now asking for money to be allocated to that on there. The other large items on there is that I've asked to increase the, in particular, contractual services by $2,000. That's because I have some very unusual items that are coming up for third-party review in plan review at Electric Boat and Pfizer's. The good news is both of them on there, and some of these are going to take more thinking than what we normally the book would handle for us. But besides that, there are no real other changes in the budget.
Any questions? Councilor Sheffield?
Thank you, Mayor. Carl, you said 8,000 was going to be for a
Building officials vehicle, replacement of the building officials
Okay.
vehicle in 2021-22 time frame. We're trying to projecting that for.
and then the other 8,000 was this total of 16,000.
Correct. 8,000 we started last year towards the assistant building official, so that one would drop off a little bit earlier because we want that in the 19-20 budget year.
Okay.
Councilor Russ?
What year are the vehicles currently?
2007 is the assistant building officials, and 2010 is the building officials.
And, I'm sorry, how many miles approximately?
The assistants has about 50,000 miles on it, and the building officials has right now 78,000. So by the time we get there, it's sort of kind of funny in a way, but the assistant building officials vehicle, we've already replaced the tires 3 times because it's all stop go with his on there, whereas the building officials, we go to classes together, we put commissions in the vehicle, we go on longer rides with it. It's the 4-wheel drive one, it's the one that comes in at night on there. The other one just sits right out here, and like I said, it's all stop go all the time on that. It's a small vehicle, small tires.
Deputy Mayor Garish?
So you anticipate an increased cost because of the construction at EB?
Yes, we do.
I mean, is that,
You mean revenue coming in from permits?
no, I mean, costs to the city for inspections and,
I think the mayor probably will talk to that at another time, because we are working on something for anticipated cost inspections based on building permit fees that would be coming in. The increased cost that I'm asking for is third-party plan reviews, because some of these items just that we're going to deal with do not fit in the code book whatsoever. As an example, this one isn't DOD by any means. We're going to cover one of the graven docks, but we're not going to cover it inside the, we're going to do it inside the graven docks, a section of a submarine by 200 feet, and then move that section by section, so it gets on the other 200 feet of the submarine. During that process, it's a high hazard area, so everything's going to be explosion proof in there, what we call class 1, div 1 rated, but they don't want a sprinkler because they don't want the moisture for what the product that they got to deal with in there. So some of those things are outside the code. The code's expecting it to be sprinklered. How are we going to deal with this outside of it? That's where that third-party review needs to be help with.
so the third party would be somebody from the state or DEP or?
No, it's someone that we would hire for third-party review of these items.
It would be a consultant with some expertise in this area that we don't have the expertise in. That's the purpose of it. Later on, we will be talking about the anticipated building and electric boat and what that means regarding fees and manpower and those kind of things, but I'm not ready to present that to the council yet, and we're actually probably several months, maybe even a year premature.
Thanks, Kelly.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Councilor Sheffield?
Yes, Carlton, on the 3.28% was for workers' comp general increase. Is that approximately the 15,000 in additional for personnel services? Would that be about?
Along with the wage
Oh,
increases.
right, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the standard that we've been seeing across the board in all departments.
And no additional personnel will be?
Oh, no additional
Okay.
personnel's been requested at this time.
Okay.
Anyone else? Any other questions on this budget?
Can I just ask a question about, so we talked about the two different vehicles. So, and you said one was start and go, I guess, start
Yeah.
and stop traffic. What are you doing in the vehicles? I guess I'm,
They're going to inspections,
okay,
place to place here.
sure,
On,
okay. And then the other one is just for longer,
Well, I go on inspections on the other one, but the other one also goes out on the longer trips.
gotcha.
So when we go to class in New Britain, or the other day was Farmington, because that's where the state held it, we use that
Gotcha.
vehicle, we put us in that vehicle. If we're the commissions on weekends, have seminars, I come in here, we pick them up, and we go on that one. It's a four-wheel drive, it's kind of got some of the bells and whistles that makes it safe, much
Gotcha, yep,
on there. In the snowstorm, you don't see the little vehicle out.
right.
But if you think about it, the assistant vehicle has 45,000 miles, and that's all within the city.
Right,
So it's all stop and go miles, and that does put a little more wear and tear on the vehicles. But we are being cautious and conservative about replacement of vehicles.
sure.
Any other questions or comments on this budget? Okay. You have boards and commissions, is that yours as well?
That is also mine, some boards and commission, not all. So I have harbor management, we'll start with conservation, which entails wetlands, Eastern Point Historic District, the Zoning Board of Appeals, So we'll start with the harbor management. We'll kind of work our way backwards out of this. So harbor management is a group that gets money from the mooring fields that we have, and that money goes into a revenue account. So we have Years ago, we actually had $3,000 or $4,000 as monies allocated towards that commission. We now put in just $1,000 towards it because they raise $3,000 a year on the mooring fields on there, which that money goes in, like I said, into a revenue generating account, and we've offset that budget because of that. The other commissions are wetlands and the historic district. We have to take that one because we don't get any monies for their application fees, and that one always runs a little higher in the budget due to the fact that we pay all for the advertisement, 100% of the advertisement out of that budget on there because the statute says that we can't charge. We have gone a couple of times trying to request the bill be changed, the Connecticut General Statutes to be changed, but we get it to a certain point and then it gets pulled each and every time. So the other piece of that, the commission, is just pure commission work.
Any questions on boards and commissions? Councilor Rusk.
See my confused look?
I-
Can we just kind of go through each one a little bit more? The historic review, like, what does that $4,000 go for? And I realize it's down $5,000 or $500, but
So I have historic commission is down $500, right? So I have contractual services for $1,000. That is if we need the attorney. Office expenses and advertisement is $2,500. And professional development, which is if we bring somebody in, typically we bring somebody here to teach the commission. It's the cultural and tourism that comes. They have a specialist in this field. And this year that we're going to try to work on, because when the PCOD comes out, one of the items is how we're going to handle the flood zone in the historic districts on there, because we're not supposed to elevate these houses, but that's what the law says you got to do. You're kind of taking away the historic value of it when we elevate it. So the state is going to, we're not the only ones with this question, so that we're going to get some more technical training and try to enhance that.
and I'm sorry, I'm gonna just kind of go through each one. Zoning Board of Appeals, what does that money go towards?
So zoning board of appeals, contractual service is $12,000, office advertisement is $3,500, and professional development is $1,000 on there. Bigger group, a lot more training is involved with them. The reason the $12,000, this is where the attorneys, this is basically where the attorneys get involved, and that's where all our money comes out of for any enforcement action or special help with unknown ZBAs. We do have some coming up this year that are we know we got coming for electric boat that could be challenging.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on boards and commissions? Okay, thank you very much. We will go to Parks and Rec on page 90.
Thank you, Carlton.
Say again.
Thank you.
That's it, thank you.
Page 90. That starts the narrative in the cost center analysis. The actual function highlight starts on page 93.
All right, so the first part of my budget is the recreation side of the budget, which is up, as you can see, 2.79%. Our increases in this is, some of it is contractual obligations for salaries for staff. We had a slight increase at the beach for beach operations and staff at the beach. But our largest increase was contractual services due to some of the programs we've run. over the course of the last couple of years, we've added additional programs like our babysitting class and our Friday night outs for the kids and bus trips and which, you know, we took them over and started them, and we finally got true cost over 2 years of what it costs us to actually operate for supplies, for the babysitting class, for the stuff that we bring in. If anybody's been to Friday night out with the middle school, we bring in big blow-up bounce house type things for the kids, entertainment, and bus trips. We have a very successful bus trip program that we trying to get, so we actually bring in more than what we pay out, but we try to keep that so we don't go over that. The other area is we used to have a volunteer in the city that used to do our basketball program for our young men that were ages 18 to 28, 29, because we have a 30 and older league. They're a little too athletic for our 30 and older league, so we do. So we set a program for them. And the gentleman that volunteered is no longer doing it, but it's a target audience that we get about. You know, we have 40 to 45 guys signed up for that program. So we have staffed that now with somebody who monitors the program and somebody who actually kind of works and officiates, so there's no fighting or any thing that will happen to discourage the program from happening. And we have that operate from October to April. So, and they, like I said, 40 to 45 people. So that's where our contractual increases have happened in our recreation budget. So it's really just to kind of keep status quo with our programs that we currently have.
Any questions on recreation?
Yes.
Councilor Russ.
I just want to say, I think rec has always been the one thing in the city that has always hit home to me and how important it is. So I'm really excited to see that all these things have been happening for years and that we're adding more services. So thank you.
Okay, let's go to the maintenance side.
Okay.
Starts on page 9-7.
Our maintenance side, as you can see, is up 4.53%. This is where my budget, where I get the insurance and the workman's comp increase. Our insurance is extremely, it keeps going up because of the two buildings that we have at the beach. It's merely the flood insurance that we have on those two properties that we kind of get affected depending on what happens nationally in regards to flood insurance. So that's kind of increased significantly over the last couple of years, right, Ron? So,
as some of you may recall, we did come with that last year, in August, I believe it was, and kind of walked through that.
yeah. So they're out of that 4.53%, 2% of that is pretty much those set costs that are determined for us. We do have contractual obligations again in this budget from the parks employees with their increases in pay, their clothing allowance, their boot allowance, and all those things that were contributed to their contract being signed off last year. So we have those increases. Did increase on the seasonal staff side of this in regards to getting an additional staff for the summer season. And it's just due to the fact of the nature of trying to stay ahead of some of the things that we have to do at the parks. We have 78 acres of property that we maintain, mow, weed whack, and try to keep nice. One of the other areas we got hit this past year was park improvement. I'm not sure if you all remember that fall storm that we had that they called the microburst. We had $6,000 worth of tree damage just in the park alone. So we're trying to stay ahead of that and make sure that, because it's not just taking down trees that might have fallen or limbs that are down. We also have to grind out the stumps and make sure that the land that they are on are safe for the community.
Questions on maintenance? Councilor Sheffield.
Yes. Will there be, you said additional staff for the summer? How much?
Just one.
Just
one
okay.
seasonal staff for
Awesome.
120 days. He's actually July to October, so he kind of falls into our leaf pickup type time
Okay.
too. So that overlaps.
Anyone else? Okay, that's it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for budget reviews.
Actually, I just want to add one piece to that. This is just more of an FYI. We received our updated grand list after Board of Appeals had come in. Based on the new numbers that we received from Mary Gardner, we are short from where we projected $20,320,233 of how we based our budget on. That equates to just over 90,000 in tax revenue. So it's just something, I just wanted to make you aware of it, that after the Board of Appeals decisions came through, our grant list did drop by that 20 million. So just something to keep in mind. We'll discuss it as we go forward with it, but we did have a hit of around, like I said, 91,000 in tax dollars based on the 4.5 mill rate. So I just want to make you aware.
Was that just because of the evaluations or reevaluation?
The biggest piece of it is with Pfizer's personal property and the declarations and the timing and trying to keep track of all of the assets and where they are. They do, the town takes care of that. They do track they target their key assets, but they can't get all of them. But based on this year, after the review between the town and Pfizer, that was the majority of the decrease.
So that's the bad news for the 90,000 on a go-forward basis. But then for this year, we had a $226,000 hit that was for this year only. So that will be coming back next year. So that's the good news that will offset this $90,000 loss.
I'm sorry, we had a $226,000 hit for the last budget season, correct?
For 2019.
Okay.
For the,
It's in this current year's budget.
In this current
Actually, if
year's
you,
So next year we'll be short 90,000 for next year's budget. That's we're retroactive.
okay.
if on page 2 of the budget book, in the revenue under property taxes, you'll see that there's a negative $230,000. That was from the lawsuit that was settled
I'm
from
sorry.
previous years.
Where is this?
On page 2, and in the it's the second one down under property taxes on the very top. There's property taxes of $5,339,795.
Oh,
And then the
Got
next
it.
line underneath it is the 230,000. That was from the lawsuit settlement that we owe Pfizer from previous years. That's just a one-time reduction.
So that is a one-time reduction for the FY 2019 budget. So we will, in the following years, we will get that money back. The $90,000 that we just were made aware will be an ongoing $90,000 every year from now on until they come up with new numbers.
So that $5,339,795 was based on a grand list of $1,199,000,000 as opposed to the $1,179,000,000 that we just been adjusted based on the new grand list numbers. So I just wanted to make you aware of that it is a significant change and something that we may need to consider looking just when we go forward.
Councilor Sheffield?
So we're deducting 90,000 from 5.339 mil. Okay.
Essentially,
Okay.
yes.
from the bottom number? I'm sorry, the
For all intents and
5959.
purposes, the number's still the 5,359,000, but when we go to collect it, if we were to collect the 100%, we're gonna be short $90,000. Because that 5,339,000 was based on a grand list that was $20 million more than where it currently sits.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Councilor Rusk?
So are we looking at ways to make up that $90,000? I mean, I know
That-
there are some increases that we can't touch. I mean, obviously, we've got a lot of services or a lot of contractual services, a lot of insurance issues and things like that that we can't change. But what can we shave off to make that a little bit less of a blow?
That's something that we're currently looking into, and again, it'll be based on decisions from the council as far as every department's budget as to where they're at, the changes you may want to see. At the end of the day, it could result in your budget. You may want to just increase the mill rate to make up for that shortfall, which would bring it to roughly 4.58 instead of the 4.5. Those are just decisions that we'll need to continue to talk about and think about, and then when it's time for the council to approve their budget, to make sure we have all the facts and direction.
What was it that we called it last year? The non-negotiables?
Well, it's non-departmentals, but non-negotiable, or non-touchables, untouchables.
Yeah, the untouchables. Is there a way that we could get just a page that says, this is the budget with the non-touchables? This is the extras that are being asked for in each department on, one sheet, so that it's really clear, like, these are the things that we can't really change because it's, all the contractual things. And that way we have a really clear view of what we're being asked to increase.
The contractual stuff is mainly just personnel, isn't it?
That's a quick and
Insurance.
dirty way to look at it. On each budget summary is the personnel costs. And then if you were to take and look at just the operating expenses, those are more the discretionary. There's some contractual stuff in there. I know what you're looking at. We can put something together that'll.
I'm looking more at what in the increases are negotiable.
Okay.
Okay, we can do that. Have I briefed the council on the meeting with the town council on the budget? Have I briefed you guys on that?
Just that something was coming up.
Okay, we met with the town council, and roads and highways, city police, and lighting all passed. They did not reduce anything. Tomorrow they will be on their agenda. They're going to be accepting their whole budget, so they're done. So roads and highways, in theory, should be done. We have a meeting on Wednesday at 6 or 6:30. Hold on, let me check my phone. At 6 o'clock, the RTM Finance Committee is meeting at the Groton Senior Center. 6 o'clock in our budget, we will be presenting to the RTM Finance Committee on Wednesday at 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else on this? Okay, we'll go to the next line item, which is 691, which is gap pay extension. Mohammed, if I could get you to come up and sit next to Ron. Please, you guys have information. This is the, so this is for Donnie Niles, who has orders extending his status till September 10th, 2018. So there's a request for an extension of 128 days of gap pay. The orders are attached. The previous resolution is there. And let's see, I thought we had. So the memorandum from Superintendent Chet is that the cost of extending the gap pay for the additional period would be $6,727.68. Excuse me. Does the council have any questions? Councilor Rusk.
Let me start out with, as a Navy wife, I'm always in favor of supporting our military members. If I remember right, the last time we talked about this, we talked about July being when he was going to be getting out. Do we know why this has been extended?
Nope. Did you get a copy of the orders?
Yeah, it says 10 September
Yep.
2018.
And they won't let us know.
Anything more? Okay.
Because in the past I've asked Sue if she's reached out and she had, but they won't tell them why.
Okay. Well, I remember last time we asked the question if he would be fit for duty when he came here, and the answer was yes. This has been over a year?
This is,
Over 2 years?
were you talking about the gap pay?
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, it started, the orders dated 29 March 2016. Actually, he was deployed on active duty 12 March 2015. And then on February 5th, 2016, his status was changed to active duty medical hold. And then, so he's been on medical hold since February 2016.
Okay.
So now we're beyond 2 years.
My,
Councilor Sheffield?
well, my question would be how long of, active medical is allowed under the military rules? It could be indefinite, is that?
As long as they're, as long as he's on medical hold, they have him on medical hold.
How many,
Do
how
we
many,
know where he is, if he's in the hospital or if he's at home?
Not in the hospital, he showed up.
Yeah, I believe we saw him last time, right?
Showed up.
Right, he came here last time. I don't, currently, right now, I don't know if he's in the hospital or not.
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay, thank you.
I think he's still between home. He has to report to some fort, I'm not sure which one, and the doctors.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you over the fan.
Sorry, at home,
Okay.
he's supposed to report to some fort, or I'm not sure which military installation he's supposed to report to, that and the doctors.
Okay.
To,
They
that is
got
the
him
best
at-
of my knowledge.
We got him at Fort Drum, New York, is the,
Yes, that's the one.
He could just, if, I mean, the worst case scenario, if we didn't move forward for this, what he would just, I mean, he could just, grieve it or, I mean, I don't know what would he do?
Well, actually,
What's his possibilities if, say, if we didn't pass or didn't go through it, it would be just,
well, when we went through this last time, we talked about that it's up to you guys. It's up to the council.
no, I know that, but say he got a denial from the council, right?
Does he have
Would he
recourse?
have a right to grieve it, or, like, what would be his options to, do we even know that?
This is the difference between what he's being paid on military pay.
I understand
to
that.
where his current pay.
I understand, I know,
But yeah, no, this is just the resolution that was put in that allowed the council to make that determination if they wanted to. There is nothing.
so
that-
there is nothing,
Right.
yeah, okay.
But
It-
it's,
I'm sorry.
but it's, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. You can finish your sentence. I have
No,
another,
no.
different question. Am I remembering correctly that he gets insurance through the city? Or is it through the military? I want to say it was through the city, and part of the gap pay paid for part of that?
Well, the part of the gap pay pays for his dependents'
Insurance.
insurance.
And if this wasn't paid, it would not affect his job hold, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Still his job, regardless.
Right, we're required by USERRA
right.
to keep a job. Well, we would do that anyway, but we are
Seems like
required.
this is just a good faith.
We could fill the position, but then when he comes back, we have to put him in an equivalent position.
you know, as somebody who's I've had my own health issues, I'm sure some days are better than others, and I'm sure I'm sure he wants to get back, because it's not fun being home and being sick, when you can't do or you can't perform the way that you want to, and I'm sure that if he got this extension, that he probably needs it, but at the same time, we should probably, you know, examine this a little bit closer as far as from a city perspective,
Yes.
especially given the fact that we would keep a spot open for him.
It's too blind as well. We don't know. There's two uncertainties. You know what I mean? We don't know. It'd be one thing if we knew
Right.
when he was coming back. If there was a defined time when we knew he was coming back, you know. But this could go on for a year or two. You never. We're gonna keep revisiting it and revisiting it.
Right.
You know?
Councilor Rush?
I remember in December when he came to speak with us, him saying that he thought that there would be the one that we did in December and then another one. So that would be this one. That he was planning on coming back. That was a commitment that he made to the
Right.
council. Obviously, we can't hold him to that, but that was the commitment that he made. So I think that for this one, we need to agree with it. I mean, that's my opinion. But I also think we may need to look at it in the future as to what our policy should be in the future on how long
I
we
mean,
extend.
I'm thinking almost similar to the fact where he came last time. We could just make it clear, you know, because Trey has a family, just make it clear.
Absolutely.
Because he needs to know our situation as a council as well. For, you know, we're obviously looking forward for his best interest, but he needs to also look forward to the city's best interest. So I think if he can possibly, you know, come again, so we can express this to them. I think at least as far as the council goes, as a caring council, it'll make it that much easier to tell them that, you know, that this is. I mean, our hands are kind of almost tied almost, you know.
Can I ask another question? So, are you his supervisor? Or?
No, sir, I work for him actually.
Oh, okay, all right. Are you short staffed? How are you getting along? Do you need somebody to fill in the meantime?
I mean,
or?
Sue Blanchard is probably the best person to answer that question.
Sure.
Are we hurting? No.
Okay.
They would have asked, right?
I mean, we have taken responsibility and distributed among different staff members to.
Okay.
Councilor Rush?
I just want to say thank you for doing that. I mean, I know we're
Right.
holding this position, and in the meantime, somebody else has to be doing the work.
Exactly.
So, you know, we all appreciate your department, you know, just being able to distribute the work and doing it that way.
So what am I hearing from the council? Do you want to move this to the mayor and council meeting of 7 May? Or do you want me to get him here so you guys can talk to him before we make a decision? What is
I think it's clear that we're going to move, to at least put it forward, to move forward, but we would request that we could speak with him to express.
Okay, let me see if we can get him, well, okay.
But I don't need him to be here to get it to move forward, if that's the question. I don't
understand.
think they
No,
do either.
no, and I don't want I
Just for communication purposes, you know what I mean? Just so
Agreed.
it happens again, it's like, we don't go through a third or fourth process about, you know what I mean? Just to kind of make it clear. that-
Certainly.
right.
Okay, so I need a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of 7 May.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? On hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries unanimous. Okay?
Thank you.
Marlon. Okay, the next thing, 691. Let's look at 692, the donation request. We have two. One's from Groton Bank Day and one's from Special Olympics.
both of these units.
I just had a question. I'm on this one. In the letter,
Yeah.
Which one are you talking about?
the Groton Bank Day, sorry.
Okay.
I think they were asking for $500 for the passport program, but in the back it said 800, and I wasn't sure if that was just a. When I did all the math, it looked like they had 800 baked into the 6250 number, but I'm not sure which one might be the
They're asking for $500.
right. But at the top it says 800 for.
Well, that's for the
person.
passports.
Okay, so 500 was.
We hope you consider supporting our collaboration specifically as a funding sponsor of our passport program at a cost of $500.
So 500 of that 800.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay, I misread that.
This is a new.
This is Groton Bank Day. This is part of the Connecticut Open House Day. And Groton Bank Day is where different organizations, different historic organizations will be open. Art on Groton Bank is also part of this. And we will have a passport program. Basically, the passports will be given out, and you can go and you can get a stamp at each of these locations, and then you can submit your passport for a prize. Councilor Rush.
I just want to say I think this is fantastic. I'm so excited about this day. I would love to be able to participate. I also think that it would be a great time to open up the Costa property and have food trucks, and if they're not already doing food trucks, and
We are
maybe
going.
having some music or something down there on that day.
We are going to have food trucks this year. Let me see if she has something planned for Groton Bank Day. The water taxi will be up and running that day as well. Matter of fact, they have received a donation to cover the charges, or the cost rather.
I move we move this to the agenda of April 7th. Oh, did you already do it? I'm sorry.
May-
Second.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Yes, you said the Special Olympics, is there,
What are they asking for here?
there's three different, the sponsor, I'm not sure what the amount that we're looking to.
Okay,
donate.
so we're looking at $500 for Groton Bank Day.
That comes out of that fund?
Yeah.
But we don't have, how much, there's not much, what's the talent on that? What's,
So, right now, that resolution authorizes $5,000 per year,
yeah.
and up each organization up to 1,000. Currently, to date, we've done 1,000 to Children's First, 1,000 to Art on Groton Bank, and then with moving the 500 for Groton Bank Day, that'll get you to 2,500
Yeah.
for the year. And that's this fiscal year.
Okay, so we got 25 left. 2,500 too.
Before,
But people still request throughout the year, though.
Well, this is for the end of this year, which is in June, right?
it goes through June.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, so we're halfway. And we got like a couple months.
So, go ahead, Councilor Russ.
Can I ask what we've done in the past for Special Olympics?
I'm not sure.
You know
I
what?
haven't-
I knew you were gonna ask that, and I don't know.
I haven't seen it in the past,
Right. Yeah, I
since
don't,
I've been on the council.
I don't know.
That's my only question.
So,
That's what would jump from
Yeah, I
200 to
know.
1,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Still mid. That should be a
I'll
platinum.
look into that for you and get back to
That should be a platinum.
Can
that. I
we,
don't recall.
can we move it and then make a decision on the amount
Sure.
at the next?
We can pen and ink it, or, excuse me, amend the resolution.
Can I just ask one question? Where would you like to start it at for next? If there's a spot, just so that way the resolution can be amended, but then it can be amended?
Like a minimal, you mean?
Or can we just leave it?
The silver, the minimal? So we look
Can
at
we
our-
can we make a?
they're-
Can you make your
They
own?
would take
Right.
one, they just split
I mean,
it
they
in
can
the
always
middle.
just bump us
They'll
down
take
to-
$500.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
They're
Like,
not gonna. We'll take. How about we take
Yeah.
Right.
500 to be a silver?
I would say 500
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
Well, like you said on the last page, it does just say individual donation
sure.
on that last one.
Okay.
Which the city.
Yeah, so let's do 500 and we'll just do it silver.
Okay. So 500.
And then if you want to make
Okay.
Sure.
That would cover
Any-
2 silver contests and 1 bronze at 500.
So you're going to move this for $500 donations to each
Yes.
of the,
Is that
Any
part of?
further discussion?
To each, I don't get that last part.
Well, because we talked about 2, they're both.
Groton Bank Day is
Oh,
500.
each, I
And
thought you
then-
meant each one. Okay, all right.
I didn't say that.
Right.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. We do have a motion
Second.
Right.
and a second
Second.
to move $500 for Groton Bank Day and $500 for Special Olympics.
Right.
To move it to the mayor and council meeting of 7 May of this year. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries unanimous. Okay, what do we have? We have 578, which was at your desk, this, at your seats rather, excuse me. This is municipal projects, this is for video equipment. And I will let Clerk Patrick talk about that. This is something that we've been thinking about for a little bit of time, and that is if you look at our 1970s technology that we use, we'd like to update it. And our intent, I got, or actually I didn't, Deb did, got Sean Greeley to come over. He did a check for us. And he got this information. And basically we would put a camera similar to what the town council has in the back. And we would put one here facing toward the screen. And we would use the screen and also our smart boards. And so this is 11,000. We have a not to exceed 11,000 due to tax. And this covers all the equipment. I will be coming.
shipping, no tax.
Oh, okay, no tax.
We're non-tax.
Shipping, I'm sorry, shipping and handling, my apologies. I did say tax, I meant shipping and handling. I will be coming to you with some additional information because we're gonna need to run electrical to both of the connections, and there's gonna be a cost to that. We are not replacing these state-of-the-art microphones because there's some new laws that'll be coming out in a couple years
In 2020.
in 2020. And what we will do is once those go into effect, we're going to replace these. My intent is to go with wireless microphones and to get it so not only will be state of the art for the video, which will include high definition, we will also be state of the art for audio in 2020. And that way, the presentation, when people see us on television, will come through crisp and clear, and we will be able to be seen. So this is something that in my mind is long overdue. Are there, so
Yeah, I was.
do you have any questions for,
Do you have any questions?
No,
for me?
but I don't. I was gonna say because you said it all, so she doesn't have to say anything. So I
Well,
think
the camera we have is on loan from
Yeah.
the town
Oh,
of Groton,
good.
so
You got-
we don't even
it's
own a
it's.
camera.
I think when you go to the town side,
Mhm,
and then you look at our side,
mhm.
and if you talk about transparency and everything else, it's not for us. It's for the residents. So I think
Right.
it's longer overdue. It needs to happen.
Well, that's
Just
why
don't-
Sean
ju-
did what he did.
Just don't get my bad side.
So we have comparable equipment to what they have. Once we're done, we will have comparable equipment.
right?
I move we
Get your-
move this to the May 7th mayor and council meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries unanimously. Last thing is 693, which is the purchasing policy ordinance. So I will turn that over to Finance Director Uhas.
This is something that's been in the works for multiple years now. There's an ordinance 148 that when you read it, it pretty much says there's only one person, and that's the purchasing agent that can make any purchases on behalf of the city for anything, which isn't feasible. It's not how things were really being done. So we wanted to look at the ordinance, and the first piece of it was to pull it from an ordinance and make it a policy. Kind of what we've been doing with a lot of the other ones, where to keep the ordinance very factual without dollar amounts in it, so we can modify it, change it, and amend it at any point without a cost of the advertising and all the other pieces that go with it. So the first piece is the ordinance, which I believe was like 4 or 5 pages originally, if not more. It's down to less than 3/4 of a page, and it pretty much just creates the purchasing department and has the purchasing department overseeing the purchasing for the city, with the exception of the utilities. So that it just kind of streamlined that piece down, made it very straightforward, and just did 2 of the things that the original ordinance accomplished, and then all of the detail of it, we brought it into a policy, which will then need to be approved by the council as a resolution. So that was the first piece with the ordinance itself. The policy is a lot more detailed. It started off mirroring the ordinance and then modifying it as we went through it. We made added the definitions as to what things meant. We left the dollar amounts the same as of right now, but it's something that is open for discussion as far as where the bid policy, as right now, is to $10,000. Anything over and above $10,000 is required to go to bid unless it's being waived. The other thing is all purchases over $10,000 must come to council for approval with the vendor. The state statute currently is at $25,000 for bidding. The town of Groton's at $15,000. So it's just something to think about if we want to up, 1, the bidding limits, and then 2, the amount before it comes to council. If you want to still see every $10,000 and over purchase, it's not a problem. But if you want to bump that number to 15 to 20, wherever you want to go with it, that's something that's still being worked on. So that's in section 3 of it, kind of the limits for the department heads. What the department heads are allowed to purchase on their own is up to 1,000 currently in this draft. Between 1,000 and 2,500, they're required to get a purchase order, which then is signed off only by the purchasing agent, the purchase order is a binding contract that with the vendor. Then it also talks about that they need from the 1,000 to 2,500 3 verbal quotes, and then 2,500 to 10,000 3 written quotes, and then over the 10 goes into the bidding. And like I said, those numbers are all just kind of placeholders in here now and looking for direction. The other big change to this was something that came up, I believe, around 2019, and there was the question about local vendors. And do we have anything for preferences for local vendors? We added a piece.
I'm sorry, where is this?
This is gonna be on the 3rd page and where it goes under the definitions, the 1.1.
Thank you.
The city and town. So it talks about what a local business is, which we've determined right now as a business located within the city or town of Groton. And then it talks about, on the next page, which goes to the 2.1, there's dollar limits and kind of thresholds, anywhere from the $10,000 up to $500,000. As long as the low bidder is within 10% of low bid, we will reach out to, if they're qualified, reach out to them and offer them a chance to match the low bid. They would not get it for the higher amount, but it would allow them to come redo it and come in as the low bid. So that's a 10%. And as the dollar amounts go up, the percentage goes down. So then anywhere from $500,000 to the $5 million, it becomes a 5% variance. And then over 5 million is a 3%. This mirrors the town of Stonington and their local vendor preference. So that's something that is new in this policy that was not in the ordinance.
Right. This was based on a recommendation of one of the previous counselors. We took it under advisement, looked at it, evaluated it, looked at what other local municipalities did, and we included it in this policy.
And then a lot of the following pages are just, again, out of the ordinance that we've incorporated in here. The disposal of city property and kind of the process through that, even though there's another policy that oversees that as well. This was sent out to all department heads for input, so to try to get feedback from them as well. So
The only, I mean, I think that's good, especially the bidding thing, and I understand how people. So in order for that, the way it's written up, when you're bidding for a project, right?
yep.
And say it was a Groton business, right? Would they have to be already in that initial bidding process, or are they somebody that can come in and just say?
They would have to submit. They'd have to submit a bid
Okay,
because
all right, yeah, all
because
right.
what it does is it
With
takes.
that problem.
Yeah, so that first, so say it's like a $10,000 bid, as long as they're within
Yeah.
10%
Mhm.
of the low bid, they'll be, and they're qualified. That's the other big piece of it, they're qualified. It's not just a guarantee that they would be extended an offer
Oh,
to
as long as
match
they
the
were-
low price.
Okay, as long as they're in. Okay, I thought. Okay.
So they would have to bid in order to
So
determine.
if they're way off, they wouldn't be able. They wouldn't be able to match that.
Correct.
Oh, yeah,
So,
okay.
so that
Alright,
under that
yeah.
first scenario, say it was a $15,000
Yeah.
bid and they came in at 20% over, this
Or
wouldn't come
under.
in. But if
Or under, they would get it.
they would
Get
right.
it?
But if they came in at 5% over that low bid, they would be
Yeah.
extended
Okay.
Offered to match
to
that low
match.
bid.
Yeah.
They wouldn't get at the
That's
5%
good, yeah.
more. It would be an offer to come in if they could match the low bid.
Yeah, they couldn't come in after the bids. And
Yeah, because
Right.
that would be.
And again, the
It'd
key
be
is,
nice if they could, but.
Yeah.
and the key there being qualified bidder.
Yeah, that's not
And I read this over when we got it, and I remember the previous issues that were discussed about local vendors and preferences.
Yeah,
It-
yeah.
it's-
That's good,
It's
though.
good, it's good to have a policy on it.
And we also, I think we do need to look at raising the. It's been 15 years, right? Since as far
Well, we
as
currently
the,
have 10,000.
We have 10
Anything above 10,000 comes to the council for your approval.
and is bid.
So
And his bid, sorry.
yeah.
And
So I'm saying we may need to look at raising that. I'm saying if it's been 15 years, just right since we approved that,
I'm not sure when 148 was.
2003. Is that
November 2003,
just-
you said.
prices of
Deputy Mayor, yeah.
inflation? Things are more expensive nowadays.
my question, Ron, and I know over a period of time, the value of money changes, and so you might up the ante. But how much of a burden, leaving it at 10,000, how much of a burden is that on a purchasing department going out for bids, or not going out for bids? It would be, it might save you some time.
It
some
does,
manpower.
and the other thing that we do use is like the state bid. Again, that doesn't so much help the local bid piece of it, but usually the state bid is more vehicle stuff. And then we also use co-ops. If there's a cooperative that went out and did a whole bid for something that we're interested in, we may piggyback off of that and use the work that they did in order for that purchase. So you're still kind of bidding it, not internally, but using an external. As far as additional work, I don't see it as being that from the 10 to the 15.
Oh, it's not a problem. Yeah.
I mean, you see the projects that come through that are the 11 and 12. There are some.
Definitely not.
Or should we look at following the state lead?
I don't know that you want to go up to the 25,000. The town of Groton is currently at 15. A lot of municipalities are at the 20. Again, that's just where you're comfortable with
Yeah.
the purchasing for the city.
I was just looking at it from manpower for
Yep.
the purchasing department.
Well, and now that this is a purchasing policy, it's easier to change. So you guys have time. You can think about it, and if you decide, you know, in the future, if something comes to you and it triggers the thought, maybe we should change this, then we can do it. It makes it a lot easier now that it's a local policy as opposed to it being an ordinance.
So we pick it up at any time we want to.
Correct.
Certainly.
And it's just a resolution that approves the policy.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, I need a motion for, move this to the May 7th Mayor and Council meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries unanimously. Okay, I need a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 1-206 Alpha to discuss personnel. Fire Department will need the entire council and Human Resources Director Avedisian. And pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 1-206 Echo and 1-210B9 to discuss statements of strategy or negotiation with respect to collective bargaining to include the entire council and HR Director Linda Avedisian.
I make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss the aforementioned item.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, we are in executive session. We'll go to C8.